All set?
Mormon records are quite good.
At this time,
No one lists a birth record. They say, they all will say,
Genealogy's not bad either.
at this time, I'd like to open the meeting of the Carver Conservation Commission for May 15th, 2013. Okay. First order of business, looks like approving our bills. Total amount $503.97.
One motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the payment of the bills to the amount of $503.97. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimous. Okay. And do we have some minutes? I don't have any in
We
my
actually
folder.
don't, Jim. We're working on them. These
Oh,
are-
okay.
These are from,
So no minutes at the moment?
not yet.
And let's see, next item is a, for your information, flyer regarding the Songbirds presentation at the Carver Public Library, which will be next Wednesday, May 22nd at 1 p.m. And it looks quite intriguing, sponsored by a grant from the Cultural Council. And for those people who are interested in the birds of the area, it could be quite helpful. So I encourage the public to attend. Now, let's see. Other business, we have two orders of conditions we wanted to see if we could get approved. First one is for,
Well, you guys approved them, they just haven't been signed.
oh, okay, oh, so we're just signing them, okay.
And Peg has to witness this.
Right.
Signature, excuse me.
Just think- But just for the public, that's the order of conditions for 47 and 45 North Main Street and for 17 Walker Road. And with no new hearings at this late in time, I'd like to continue the hearing for 303 Tremont Street, Mickey Higgins.
I think we're short of plan set. I have one extra one.
He can, I'll get the dress.
You guys want to, mind sharing?
I have mine from
Well,
today.
we can share over there.
Share.
Oh, okay, well,
I
thanks.
have enough room.
Okay. This one's finished, right? Yes. I'm back. Need to keep the mailman busy here. Up. So, go ahead, please, Bill.
Okay, I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering, here on behalf of South Coast Development. We met a couple of weeks ago and we had our first meeting with the Concom. We discussed the project, and one of the things that we had talked about was our desire to have that 5,000 square foot riverfront area added into our project area. I think we were proposing to do a little bit less or alter a little bit less, and the commission was good enough to understand what we were proposing and allowed us to go with the 5,000 foot alteration of the riverfront area. So what we did is we revised the plans. As you might remember, the reason why we were anxious to get that 5,000 square feet is so that we could provide enough room for the fire access around the building, create a couple of snow storage areas, and also to provide a little bit more parking on the site. So what we've done is, and I'll just, if it's all right, I'll just use one of the plans to look at. It's just a little easier. For example, sheet number 7, or 6 rather, might be a good one for me to illustrate to you what we did. Just starting at the westerly entrance, we just trimmed a little bit more area out of this to square off our driveway coming, our exit way coming out of the drive-through. We also showed our transformer pad and a dumpster pad so that we could have an easy straightaway pickup. I think we had a dumpster pad on the opposite side of the site. We widened the area of the fire lane. We now have a 12-foot drive-through lane plus a 12-foot fire lane. Beyond the fire lane would be a small 18-inch shoulder, be grass shoulder. There'll be a guardrail, wooden guardrail, and one of the comments that Sean Martin brought up was he was questioning the size of the timbers that we were using on the guardrail, but we're using full dimension lumber on that. So we're calling for 3 by 12 rails backed up with a metal plate at the joint where they meet the post. The posts are 6 by 8, so it's a pretty substantial piece of wood there. If any of you have been to Wareham Plaza, or Wareham Crossing rather, that's the same guardrail that we have on that site. Beyond that is the 2-foot wide concrete block wall that's really what we're going to use to retain our fill and maintain the elevation that we currently have on the site. So when we added the impervious area, we also increased the size of our drainage area, or our infiltration bed, to accommodate that additional square footage. The table indicates how many square feet we have added. I don't think it's around 1,000 or so. And as we head more to the east, we just squared off these areas a little bit more and added a couple of parking spaces here. So we just think that it really facilitated the design and helped us put together a site plan that just wasn't as compressed as it was initially. We also show a little bit of sightline clearing down here. So a portion of that is within that 5,000 square feet or within that 200-foot riverfront area. So we just wanted to improve some of our site distances on Route 58. They're adequate, but as vegetation grows and time progresses, it kind of blocks a little bit of the view. So we thought that it was reasonably prudent to do. So those were the real changes to the project. We did lop off a corner of the building so that we could easily make the drive-through lane, and we also relocated the pickup window. The service window would now be located at the far end of the building, and that allowed us to meet the planning board rules and regulations, or zoning regulations rather, for queuing of the cars. We needed to have 4 queuing spaces from the pickup window, and then 8 beyond behind the menu board. So the menu board would be located here, and there's adequate queuing to provide the 8 spaces within 60 feet of the property line. So all those things came together a little bit better with the expansion of the site footprint. And those were the changes that we made to the plan there. We think they were relatively minor, but I think it worked out better. We did show, we had a site walk today. We walked the wetland boundary, we looked at the BVW, we looked at the inland bank. We also looked at where we had the roadway staked out. We had all the road travel ways staked out. We had the concrete retaining wall staked out, so you could really follow your way, and that's what we did. We actually started here and progressed around the site in this manner, came out over here, and then walked the rest of the site to the east. So we got a pretty good handle as to what was going on out there. And the paint markings that were on the site and the stakes that were there, I think gave a pretty good illustration as to what the building is gonna look like, where it's gonna be sited. As we saw out there, it's, you know, it is much further back from the road than what is there right now. It's gonna be quite a good distance from the front to the back. So we were happy with the way it worked out, I think, and I think that with the site walk, there was some discussion as far as the snow storage areas. The planning board had asked us to identify on the plan some snow storage areas, which we did do. Some of them were not received as favorably as others during our site walk today, so we certainly have no issue with modifying some of those areas or deleting them. But part of the area that we look to do is temporarily use some of the space over here where a couple of parking spaces are. We know that during a snowstorm event, parking spaces get used up pretty readily anyway, so there's a catch basin there to allow any of the snow melt to discharge through that catch basin and get into our oil grit separator. So that's a good feature. Any other runoff or snow melt from that stockpile would come down here, run right along the edge of the berm, enter into the catch basin, and in turn travel to the oil grit separator. In similar fashion would happen the identical way on the west side of the property. We also show in the back another infiltration bed. That infiltration area is going to be solely for the rooftop runoff. So we have essentially uncontaminated rooftop runoff. It's not coming in contact with any of the pavement. It's going to be piped directly into that infiltration basin. So there really is not a need for any pre-treatment with that. All of our storm water is going to be routed from a high point here. It'll go to the west along the curb lines and the gutter lines, and it'll go to the east in the same manner and enter into these catch basins to the west, or east rather, in this catch basin down here to the to the southeast or southwest rather. So those were really the major changes that were made on the plan since our last meeting. And that's pretty much what we had.
The other gentleman with you, Bill, did he want to make any?
Oh, Mickey Higgins?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, do you have anything to add, Mickey?
No, I own New England Farms, other convenience stores, so if you have questions, I'll answer your questions, but I love to leave the engineering to Bill Madden, because he does a much better job of it than I do.
Okay. Any of the other commissioners have comments or anything to point out? The question of the snow storage, you feel, is
Oh, yeah, he
Jennifer.
we seem to come to a mutual agreement about that.
And
Now-
I asked Mr. Madden about the berms. They are 3 inches.
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
inches.
So,
And that would be at a minimum on the berm height is 3 inches. I think every contractor has a little bit of a different way of forming the berms, but if they're done out of a machine that forms berms, they can be actually as high as 4 inches. So I think we have the option, but a minimum of 3 is what is shown on the plan.
so. Sarah, do you have any items to bring up, or would you like to?
No, I I made a list of things as we walked the site, and
Mhm.
I did look up the RTN, the release tracking number for the site, so it would be up to your LSP to figure out if anything at all still needs to be done there.
Right, and that's what we're planning to as part of the removal of the old tanks prior to the new ones. I think there's a tank closure procedure that needs to go on, and I believe just there'll be some 21E due diligence that'll
Correct.
take place.
That's for the release tracking number refers to the the spill that had occurred there of some sort of hazardous material, but this was, years ago. So their licensed site professional will take care of that, and that's in the order of conditions too, and we'll be copied on that.
So did you want to give us your proposed order of conditions?
Sure.
Can we close the hearing first?
Okay.
Make a motion to close the hearing.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to close the hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. So, I guess your first vote would be to grant the variance due to the soil conditions, hydrologic conditions, and topography of the site. It's really all three. I mean, there's not a lot of room to work there. So, so I think it's warranted. Basically, it's pretty standard for the most part. The stormwater and runoff shall be contained on site. That's one of the requirements of the new stormwater regulations anyway. And then I did insert all the different stormwater improvements they're doing on this site, which I've used as the reason for their being allowed to alter up to the 5,000 square feet of riverfront area. Because it's certainly an improvement down there. And then I addressed the release tracking number and what their licensed site professional will do. We'll be copied on any, I mean, even if DEP says, oh, everything's all set, we'll get a copy of that letter, so. And we had discussed the soils too, that your licensed site professional will probably want to look at those. We don't know what's there. I'm sure you want to know too, so.
I could clarify if you want me to clarify.
Sure.
So, I mean, where we're at today, there was a release, there's a RTN tracking number, you can find the whole report, completed several years ago by CEA, it's online at the DEP. At the time of that report, everything was clean.
Okay.
So our LSP that we've hired has just done a new round of samples for the existing wells that are on site. He'll just give us some feedback. The site is in the 21J Superfund. So what that means is if we do encounter contamination when we replace the tanks, which is not uncommon, we have a mechanism to pay for that and then get reimbursed by the state.
Correct.
So we have an LSP on board. We just did well water samples. We'll wait for those, and then when we do the tank removal, we have to do a tank closure report, and that requires both water samples and soil samples from underneath the tanks when we pull the tanks out.
Okay.
Most likely that soil that's there around the tanks today will get hauled off to a licensed, either a landfill or an asphalt plant. But we do it all the time, and we're well aware of the process, and we'll copy you on whatever you want copies of.
Okay. Sounds good. Now,
So Sarah, for the benefit of the audience, TV people,
yes,
explain what an LSP is.
I did, a licensed site professional, sorry. Yeah, an RTN is a release tracking number. The DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, loves to use acronyms. And so an RTN is a release tracking number, so every time there is a release of hazardous materials, that site gets assigned a number by the DEP. So it's still, I have it here, it's still up on their site, but as Mickey pointed out, they may just be some like paperwork stuff to finish up here, and we will be copied on all of that. And cleanup of these, what are called 21E sites, that's Mass General Law, Chapter 21E. They're hazardous, hazardous spills have happened there. The law requires that you have a licensed site professional to clean it up, so it can't just be anybody. So, is that good enough? And 21J, Mass General Law 21J, is the fund through which a new landowner like Mickey will get reimbursed to help clean it up. So he's still responsible for it, but he didn't cause it to happen, so therefore he can get some funding there.
Okay, so first order of business, we ought to see if we can approve the variance for the three things now, soil conditions, hydrologic conditions, and what was the third?
Topography.
Topography, all right. So would somebody give us a motion on that?
Can I just make a motion to issue a variance for 303 Tremont Street?
Right, for those three conditions, which would be soil conditions, hydrologic conditions, and topography.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to issue a variance for 303 Tremont Street for the aforementioned conditions. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass unanimously. On to the order of conditions.
So in addition to what I mentioned before, I'm assuming that if the applicant finds any of the soils under the underground tanks to be contaminated, that would be part of this whole process, that they'd be allowed to remove that at the time. And is that
That's correct.
your assumption? Okay. And then,
You'd be expected to.
right, so some of this is very obvious. Obviously, all the runoff from the site will be directed to the catch basins and the oil grit separator, we know that. No chemical de-icers. That was a request of one of the commissioners during the site walk today. And the snow storage, we indicated where we wanted that to be, underground roof drains. And then I have a list of some of the things that obviously you'll be removing, I'm sure, but the 55-gallon drums.
That's all supposed to be removed before we close on the property, so it's a
Okay.
condition of the sale.
Okay,
There's some housekeeping items that the current owner needs to do,
Yeah.
which you might have noticed.
right. And they need to have someone, not just any old buddy, remove those as well. I hope they are aware of that.
Hopefully that's not what the hose is for.
Yeah, the hose is in here too.
They're gonna be gone before we close, or we're not gonna close. So,
Okay. Okay, so I just listed some of the items that we saw, and obviously you're not going to plant any invasive species. And then the rest of it is just the boilerplate conditions, but I have everything here if you want to see them. You can pass that around.
Can I just make a comment on the drainage?
Mhm.
While we're collecting it and infiltrating a large portion of it, all the drainage is not retained on the site. There's no increase in the peak rate or the peak volume, or the volume leaving the site. You know, in fact, we have a pretty substantial reduction in the drainage calculations that were submitted indicate that. And I think Sean Martin had one question as to water table, and other than that, I think we're in good shape with drainage.
Okay, yeah, I had said that they would be either as stated in the drainage plan, or if Sean Martin suggests something otherwise, so.
Okay, thanks.
So, Bill, now that I have you here, how much of it is leaving the site? I have.
Depends how many cars are leaving the property that day. When it's raining out.
I don't know if it's that straightforward.
Sure it is.
For the one-year event through the ranges from the peak rate decreases, say for the one-year event by 0.26 CFS to 2.46 for the 100-year event. And for the volume reduction, it's 0.035 acre feet for the one-year event to 0.278 acre feet for the 100-year event. So they're increasing from the 2 to the 100-year storm. So it's on page 7. There's a pretty good table that indicates the pre versus post changes and the reductions in the peak rates and the
Okay.
volumes.
Thank you. Thanks.
Make a motion to approve the order conditions as outlined by the agent.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the order conditions as outlined by the agent with our variance for the project at 303 Tremont Street. Any discussion otherwise? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass unanimously.
When's construction start?
Still have to go through planning, and then I think selectmen, so. But this is a good start. Thank you I appreciate
Yeah, we
it.
do appreciate it, and thanks for taking the time to meet us out there in the field and walk through things. And
Planning's going to see it next Tuesday? When do you go before planning again?
next Tuesday, yeah.
Next Tuesday, yeah.
Next Tuesday.
Now, have they walked the site yet?
Yes.
They did
Yeah.
also.
We had a windy, cold, raw day when we were
That's
out
right,
there.
you
We
mentioned
weren't as fortunate as today. Okay.
Sarah, when you issue your order conditions, do you record it or do we record it?
We record it,
You record
yeah, so you'll be getting a copy.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
Thank you. And then when we record it, when we get that information back, we'll send that to you as well, so that you'll know it's been done.
Super.
Okay, thanks. Have a nice night.
Two.
Yep.
Here.
Thank you.
Do I have a question?
Very nice.
Is Dan Foran here to see the commission, or is he just hanging out tonight?
Well, for better or for worse, he's just hanging out tonight.
He's getting an idea maybe of what we do. It's something we encourage other people to do, and we had people who were interested in the commission but never attended the meeting. As a result, never got very far. So that's good.
I think it's a bad move to have him see what we do ahead of time, because he might not want to join then.
Does he know about the free beer and donuts? All right. Well,
Make a motion to adjourn.
a second on that?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass unanimously.